Alright, how's everyone doing today? I do want to start this speech off with a question, and that question is, if a natural disaster were to happen today, how many of you guys would actually be prepared for one? I see a couple of hands, not too many, and that is definitely okay. While living in California has many perks, many people tend to ignore the fact that California is in an ideal situation to get hit with a natural disaster at any given moment. Due to the unpredictability of earthquakes in California, it is always it is always better to be better prepared for one. Even though earthquakes are unexpected, there are several things that we can do and follow and even purchase items to be better prepared for one. For the next several minutes, I'm going to discuss what you can do to be prepared for the next earthquake and, take away some of that stress if one were to happen. Some of the topics that I will be covering is where to access this information, how to start planning, and lastly would be building an emergency kit for you and the people in your house. So let's jump right in. Regardless of the size of your household, you must begin to prepare for the essential items you will need in an emergency. Information is very critical, so you can begin a search at ready.gov. It's a government-ran site where you can access on the internet, where there is plenty of information regarding how to prepare yourself and the people in your house as well. One of the most critical steps to being prepared is good planning. First thing you can do is visit ready.gov, and the website will provide a substantial amount of information on how to plan properly. Planning can be planning can be made very easy if you follow a few steps. The first step to do is begin to ask questions with the people in your household. Some of the questions might be, how will I receive these alerts if a disaster were to happen? What do we need to do? What is our shelter plan? Where will we meet? What is our communication plan? Some of those questions need to be asked and with the people in your household, because people might have different answers, responses. So it's always good to bounce ideas off each other. The next thing you can do is go over the specific needs that your household requires. If there's anyone that needs extra assistance or has medical problems, things like that need to be addressed and discussed so you can begin planning for those people individually on what they need to do if something tragic were to happen. And next, you can start heading over to ready.gov. And what ready.gov does have, they do have a lot of printable documents that you can follow. One of the things they do have is an emergency plan for parents. It doesn't necessarily have to be for parents, but it's basically an emergency plan that anyone can download, and they can either fill that out or use that as a guide to creating their own. And lastly, after you have all the information you need to answer all the questions, you begin to build your emergency kit, which we will go over in just a little bit. Once you have all those things down, then you need to start practicing your plan and following procedures that you have put in place for you and your family members or people in the house. It is very important to practice and practice and practice, so when a natural disaster does happen, you have a great idea of what you need to do and where you need to go. So let's go into building the emergency kit. During and after an emergency or natural disaster, you should be prepared for at least 72 hours with food, water, and essential supplies. Most items are inexpensive and can be bought each time you head out to the store. If you are unsure what to buy, the site that I just mentioned, ready.gov, also has a printable document of a list of things that you need to buy to be prepared for an emergency and what needs to go in your kit as well. Your primary focus should be on your basic needs and then move on to other essential items, which I will be covering both in just a few seconds. So let's go into basic needs. Basic needs, the first thing you do need is water. And we're going to be needing water for 3 days, and depending on how many people are in your house, you will need 1 gallon a day per person for drinking and sanitation a day. The next thing is going to be food. We need 3 days worth per person of non-perishable canned food. Some other items to include that aren't really important, but they're still considered essential, is having, extra set of clothes, blankets, portable chargers, having a manual can opener, a battery-powered radio, blankets, maps, important documents, but only copies of them. Do not have the original documents. First aid kit if you need any pain relief medicine or anything other Pain medicine, you need to include that as well. Books and puzzles for kids if you do have kids, or even for yourself to keep yourself entertained. Pen and paper so you have something to write on. And those are some of the few things that you can use when that you can buy when putting things into your emergency kit. Other, essential items like I mentioned, but they're not really important. If you have pets, make sure you have pet food in there, fire extinguishers, plastic utensils. Just make sure you have all of those things in there so that you are prepared. And just like that, you have built your emergency disaster kit. While it is far easier for any while it's far easier not to prepare for anything, the extra effort for planning for an emergency will be rewarding. If you do not prepare properly, you will only be contributing to your own ordeal. So with all that information at your fingertips, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and head on out to ready.gov and get started today. And remember, do not delay or it will turn into plenty of dismay. My name is Esteban Garcia, and thank you for your time, and this concludes my speech on how to prepare for an emergency disaster kit.